Welcome back to Attractions Insights. Today's guest is joining us from Whitby, Ontario, Canada. He is a Benito Suppa, owner and self-described fungineer at Durham Escape Rooms, facility capable of running 10 games at once.
That's correct.
This is incredible. With an in-house workshop that not only builds their own games, but also helps other operators across the industry bring their ideas to life.
Seems like you read our pages.
Hey, I did my homework. Yes.
Thanks for having me, Dmitry. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. So, for listeners who may not know you, can you introduce yourself? Who is Benito Suppa?
Yeah, so for those who don't know who I am, like you said, I'm Benito Suppa. I got into the escape game industry. Growing up, I had two goals. I either wanted to own a restaurant or I wanted to work for Nintendo. I have always wanted to be a big gamer. Growing up, I wanted to either own a restaurant or work for Nintendo. And those were my two goals growing up as a young kid. And so I did a lot of things with my life to try and achieve both of those goals. I learned at a very, very early onset age that I didn't have the mental fortitude to sit through a lot of schooling, that I got bored very, very easy. What I did is I went a more practical route and I grabbed a lot of jobs in a lot of different fields that could prepare me for entrepreneurship. And before getting into the escape game world in 2015, my family opened up a food truck. Whitby is a small little town outside of Toronto. We were the first food truck in town. And then we were the first escape game facility in town. So it's been 10 years. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary in October of 2025, and we're looking forward to a strong 2026.
How did you shift from food truck to escape rooms?
Interesting story. My wife had heard about these things called escape rooms, and she wanted to do one for her birthday. We went and we found a local escape room to us, and it was a small little town in Peterborough. And so I took my wife for her birthday to go play a couple rooms. And so we're driving down this old country road, and the people who own this company are phenomenal people, but it's a company called Escape Maze in Peterborough, and it's on their farm. And so you can imagine us never hearing about this thing before, and then driving down this, wooded road in the back roads of Peterborough, and then we end up on someone's private property, and there's a barn on their property that just says Escape Maze on it. So needless to say, there was a little bit of fear at first because we weren't sure what we were getting ourselves into. I mean, I'm a big horror fan, so my mind was racing. So we played a couple games there, and then my wife is originally from Ottawa, so we went to Ottawa to visit her mom, and we played a couple more escape rooms there. And then suddenly we were looking at the marketplace and the landscape here in our town, and we were like, there's not one here. And so with my penchant and want to always do game design, we decided to take a look at the market, do some market research, find out if it's something that people were interested in. But because it was so new, a lot of people still hadn't heard about what escape games were. And immersive theater wasn't as big 10 years ago as it is now. I mean, it's always been around, right? If you just look at in Toronto, they had a Rocky Horror Picture Show that used to play at a theater, but they would actually throw toast and water at lotion on the audience and make it a very interactive experience. That's been going on for decades here. I mean, immersive theater and interactive theater has always been a thing, but the escape game industry, people still were, there was a lot of question marks around it. Back in the day, people were locking the doors and doing all kinds of weird things, right? So that's how we got into it.
And I know you're very active in escape room community. We met with you, I think, first time at Transworld.
Correct.
And I know you've been speaking on stages. So tell me what motivates you to do that.
I've always subscribed to the theory, especially with escape games, that although there might be another escape game company down the street or another immersive theater company down the street from you, we're not necessarily in direct competition, right? So yes, we're competing over family dollars, right? We're competing over which mom books the birthday party with us and so on and so forth. But I mean, once they've played all of one facility's experiences, they need to go somewhere else. And so I've always subscribed to this theory that we're kind of in this thing together. It's such a small, tight-knit community. And so for me, it really made a lot of sense. And it was really important to me that if I could help another entrepreneur bypass some of the pitfalls that we encountered, it would be doing something good, right? Like that's my good deed for the day, right? And I've always been a really avid public speaker. I really like to get on stage and talk, as you can tell from the first 2 minutes of this podcast. And so for me, it started off, I started off my speaking journey not in the escape game world. I started it off at a chamber of commerce locally here. They had brought me in to talk about the struggles of opening up a business in a brand new vertical in a town that's very traditional or very blue collar. A municipality that wants to be a big city but never wants to lose its small town feel. And so the Chamber of Commerce brought me in to do a talk at a business summit. And I was on a panel with a local brewery, because at the time microbreweries were making a big push, an interior design company, and the dean of a private school. And so there was like this whole gamut of guests on this panel and at this business summit talking about the different stages of business for different value of customer base. So that's where the speaking thing started. And then, if you know anything about addictive personalities, once you do something that you really enjoy, you kind of keep running with it over and over and over again. Then I went to the Room Escape conference in San Antonio, which is run by Transworld. And I had met briefly the year before at Transworld. I'd met Nicole Ginsburg. And then I got actually closer with Nicole in San Antonio. And then that's when the whole journey of me joining the Transworld board and starting to speak at Transworld yearly, even during COVID. So I did a couple speaking engagements for escape game conferences during COVID. I did one for Up the Game in Amsterdam virtually, and I did one for Transworld virtually because, we weren't allowed to leave the country and go to fly anywhere. So I continued to participate and I continued to just try and impart knowledge. But the way I handle my speaking engagements, Dmitry, is I have one golden rule that I say at the beginning of all my talks, and it's whatever works for me may not work for you, right? So I'm here to try and give you, everyone sitting there listening to me, at least one idea. And then I like opening the floor up to them and saying, ask me questions, see if there's something that you can teach me, because it's really important. I also subscribe to that theory that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? If you never think you need to learn anything, you've already killed your growth. So for me, I still go to Transworld and I still go to seminars, and I'll go to seminars for industries I'm not involved in. Like I'll go to haunt seminars and I'll go to Christmas seminars, because there may be something that someone can teach me that I would never have thought of, that I could then take that knowledge and apply it to my business and help my business grow, or me grow as a person, right? So that was the genesis of me getting into speaking. It was really important to, one, do what you love. I love doing it. But two, if I have the opportunity to give back to the community that has, helped my family so much, right? It's made a career for me. So if I can give back even a small iota of it, I'm gonna do it.
Let's talk about escape room industry and the trends, because you've been in the industry for 10 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel the landscape changing?
Social media has had a really, really big impact on the psychology of the game player, specifically for the escape game world. We've moved away from the Facebooks and the traditional postings on Instagram to more instant gratification forms of media like TikTok or videos or reels. And it's really funny because Vine was a thing years ago, and people were subscribing to Vine in terms or accepting it as a medium. And so Vine kind of went away, and then TikTok came back, and now Vine's back, right? And so the consumption of media is all now in short bursts, right? To get those feelings up. So people are scrolling through videos. And it's really interesting because I was at a tourism event and they were talking about how, they were launching this ad campaign. And I just said to them, I'm like, this isn't going to work as well as you think it's going to work. And I wasn't trying to be pompous or rude about it, but I asked everyone who was launching this campaign, and I said, when you're at home and you're watching TV with your family, what are you all doing? And every single person in that room was like, we're on our phone scrolling. But like, even though you're watching a film or a television show in your living room with your family, most people pick up their phones and they're on their phones anyways. There's always going to be room for traditional escape games. Just like mini golf, there's always room for mini golf. There's always room for bowling. All these entertainment options have been around for decades, and they will continue to be around for decades. Where I see the industry moving is more in line with that short burst mini game sort of feel, right? So that's why you're seeing the big push for companies like Activate and Mishmash, where it's all these mini games, right? To hit that same psyche the TikTok and the Instagram and all those social media companies are doing. So you go into a room, you play a mini game, and then you play it again and you play it again until you get your high score or whatever. So I see the industry moving and shifting a little bit towards that as the newest big push. And so the challenge to escape game owners is, how do we not necessarily open up our own activates or our own mishmash or whatever, but we need to figure out a way to have more mini missions like in the construct of our game to try and impact the psyche of the game player, so that we're hitting the same notes that their everyday behavior is triggering for them. And I think that's the way that the industry is going to be moving shortly, if not already.
Do you think when you have a multi-room experience, it kind of brings that effect to some degree?
It depends on the gameplay. A multi-room experience can give you that. It can also not. It really depends on the layout of the puzzles. It really depends on the layout of the game, whether people are running back and forth between the rooms, or whether it's a 2-room versus a 5-room. There is a case to say that each puzzle could be treated as one of those little mini games, but it really depends, right? So when we're designing a game, we actively pick a tactile puzzle, something for people to do with their hands, a logic puzzle for the people who are the thinkers, a really big searching element for the people who like to search, a sensory element so people can use their senses. Whenever we're designing a game, we put one of each of those in all of our games. That way, whenever someone plays one of our games, even if they didn't like the majority of the game, there's going to be a puzzle that's going to resonate with them. And so we've created this kind of platform where we do this to kind of trigger each game player. So each game player has something that they can walk away from the game saying, I really like this one thing. I may not have liked that experience, but I like that thing. So I don't know if necessarily the multi-room aspect of it gives that same feeling, because the puzzles can do that thing. It really depends on the experience, right? So one of my favorite games I've ever played is the Catacombs in Amsterdam. I don't know if you've ever played it. It's actually in the catacombs of an old church. Fantastic game. I believe it's won a Turpeco Award. I know that Room Escape artists and a bunch of the major influencers in our industry have been there. But that game, it's a point-based system. So as you're solving things, they're calculating how many points, all the tasks that you're doing. So in terms of like the competition of the point-based system, yes, that would directly relate to that sort of mini game feel. However, when I left the Catacombs, it was more of a movie production. There were credits that played on the wall. There was music with like actors' names, and it felt less like a mini game session and more like an actual full show or production. And so for me, when I look at that game as a whole, again, I can say there were elements of it that would relate to like an activate or a mishmash or that instant gratification feel or that mini game feel. But overall, the experience, it was 5 or 6 rooms. That overall experience didn't equate that same way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. Yeah. You describe yourself as a fungineer.
Yes.
What does that mean in practice when you're building experiences?
My job is to make people have a good time. Instead of an engineer, I'm a fungineer. I engineer fun for people. There's also a saying that you can't make everybody happy. So just like every other escape game company out there, we get our share of people who don't like our games or people who aren't happy with certain decisions that we've made. We just have to remain steadfast. But in practice, my job is to look at an experience and try and generate the most fun I possibly can for as many players coming through our doors as I possibly can. I have played visually stunning rooms, games that have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in production cost. Like they're visually stunning, like universal level quality. And the gameplay just wasn't fun. Mm-hmm. Like they invested all of their effort into aesthetic. And then I've played games that are not visually appealing at all. And the gameplay was absolutely fantastic. And it brings me to, and I'm going to give them a shout out because they're our sister company in Durham, England, and it's Escape Rooms Durham. So we're Durham Escape Rooms in Whitby, Canada. They're Escape Games Durham or Escape England. And I'll never forget going there because we decided to take a trip to England and we went to Durham to play one of their rooms. And Sam is the owner. I believe he's still the owner. And we're going up these 3 flights of stairs and I've got my wife with me and our baby in a stroller. And we're carrying up this stroller because, in older towns in Europe, there's no elevators, right? So we're carrying this stroller up the stairs and it was this 1-room office. It was a single room and it looked like a regular study, like a library office. And but the gameplay was astronomically so much fun. And not because of where we were or what it was like, but the actual gameplay was fun. And so I remember leaving that. And that game for the longest time was one of my favorite games until I played the Catacombs. And so for me, it really changed my outlook on the games, that games can be stunningly beautiful, and that's going to attract a certain person. And games can be a lot of fun, and that's going to attract a different kind of person. And so what we did is we said, let's go right in the middle. So let's invest a decent amount of money on aesthetic and making the games look really, really good. And then let's spend the other half of our budget on making a good quality game that's fair. And so what we've ended up with is a lot of people leave here saying that they had a great time and the rooms look great or whatever. And the feedback we normally get, the negative feedback we normally get on the two opposite ends of the spectrum is your rooms look good, but they don't look as good as XYZ, which is fine. I'm also in a smaller town. I don't have Toronto budgets or New York budgets or LA budgets, right? So I'm never going to compete with that budget. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, everyone says your games are too hard or they're too challenging. And so no one ever says that our games are unfair. Our games are fair, but we make challenging games because for us, it's about the actual gameplay experience. So there's a huge discussion in our industry about whether or not you have an 80 or a 90% escape rate to make all the guests happy, right? Because if they're happy and they win, they're going to come back. Well, I would say after 10 years in business, they don't always have to win to have a good time and come back. So if you can create a game where they're either going to win at the buzzer or be 1 or 2 steps away, it's going to have the exact same feeling. We were so close. And they're going to want to come back and challenge themselves again. And so for us, finding that balance, that's why I came up with the term fungineer, because my job, my primary function here is to make sure that I can create an experience that is going to be as fun for as many people as possible, whether they like XYZ or ABC. I have to make sure that our experience is going to hit those markers for each demographic of mental thinker or whatever emotion we want to bring out of the person. So that's where that term came from and what I do in practice to try and hit those markers.
You have 10 escape rooms.
Yes.
How you manage to run them all simultaneously, and is it ever happening?
So we have a big staff. Our staff is 13 currently, but we split the facility in half. So we have 5 games that are run by the staff at the front of the facility and 5 games that are run at the back of the facility by the other half of the staff. They're only responsible for half of the games at a time. The times are all staggered. They don't all start at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or whatever. They're all staggered so that people aren't talking over each other. But I think we've got a pretty decent system, but we have a mix of single games and multi-room games. So all of our single games are 45 minutes and all of our multis are an hour. And it just works for us. When we rented this place out, it was 4,000 square feet. We're now up to 6,200 square feet because that's where the workshop and the storage area went. But when we rented the place out, it was a blank square. Like it was empty. There was just the one post in the middle for structural. And it used to be a thrift shop or a Goodwill. So there was, it was a big open space. And so my wife being an interior designer, she was chomping at the bit because she's like, I have a blank canvas. I can do whatever I want. And so we went through a couple initial drawings. And initially, there wasn't going to be 10 games in here. It was going to be less. We had a party room. We had all these things that were done. And what we started realizing is the party room just wasn't booking. Like in our first 2 years, it booked 4 times. So I was like, all right, turn it into a room. It's going to generate more revenue for us, right? I'm paying rent. I'm paying staff to clean it. I am paying to stock it full of tablecloths and party hats and napkins and all this wonderful stuff. But if it's not booking, I'm sitting on all this inventory that's not doing anything for me. And with Murphy's Law, the minute we tear it down, people started calling and asking if we had a party room. But at that point, I mean, we've created strategic partnerships with restaurants and locations around town that we just, come here for the game, go there to eat, and we work out packages with local companies, and it works out. It works out for us. But we have a pretty decent system of staggering the games so that by the time the first game is almost finished, right? So we stagger all of our 1-hour games at the beginning and all of our 45 games at the end of each hour or each revolution of our games. So by the time the first game is over, the staff can jump in and reset that one while people are still watching the other games that are playing, and then they're ready to go for the next round. So as games are coming out, they're being reset. And so there's a nice flow to it. But that's how you do it. It's about, being effective and looking at your business model and saying, how can we operate these games in this short period of time, right? Or in this hour block or hour and a half block, work an extra time for people who are late, or if we give extra time for people because they're like right on the edge or right on the cusp of winning. So you give them an extra like 5, 6, 7 minutes to play things out. But it's really all in how you look at your business model, how it's going to work, and staggering things out to also not put pressure on your staff. So it's definitely a delicate balance, right? So running 10 games in one facility on a Saturday, we're open 11 to 11. So we have, 8 revolutions of our games running because you have to include reset time and break time. But it works pretty well for us.
What time between games do you have?
So it depends on the day of the week. On our slower days, we run a different model. And then on the busier days, so if we looked at a Saturday, our games run every 2 hours. 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And then what that allows us to do is because we have a promotion that if you play a game and you want to play a second game, you get 30% off. By running the system that way, it gives us the opportunity to add extra time slots in between. So if we have a fully booked Saturday, we can actually go above our regular bookings because there's time in between. So let's say, for example, the 11 o'clock 1 hour room books, it's going to be done at 12. The next one doesn't run till 1. I can squeeze an extra 45-minute game in that time slot and work it out just by the way things are working, that we can fit extra games in our time slots. But so we usually run them every 2 hours. But as you know, I mean, you're in this industry. People call, oh, can I change the time of my game? I know the booking's for 12. Can I come for 11:15? And so having that extra space in between the games allows the company to run more efficiently and allows the staff to not get overburdened with their duties.
Interesting. Okay. I like that. What kind of booking system you guys use?
So we use Bookio. We've looked at other booking platforms over the years. We've taken a look at Off the Couch. We've taken a look at Peak and Zola and all the options that are out there, but we currently use Bookio. It's the best process for us. Bookio now does waivers, but we're also with BuzzShot. So, we like Tom from BuzzShot a lot. We've become friends over the years. Tech in this business is pretty funny because there's so many options. You can have it all in one spot, or you can have 5 or 6 different vendors that do all the exact same thing. But it's business is all about relationships and relationship building, right? So I won't always do the cheapest option, because sometimes it's more important to continue to foster relationships, and it's really good. So you support the people that you know and like, and they in turn support you back.
Yeah. How you price the games differently between 45 minutes and 1 hour games?
So we don't price them differently, which is really interesting. A lot of people price their games differently. We don't. So we set a price at the beginning, and because at the beginning when we first opened our doors, we only had the 45 minutes. We opened our doors with 3 45-minute games, and then we started adding the hours. And so when we added the hours, we didn't increase the price of the hour games. So that's how we get away with charging the same price for a 45 or a 60. Is we say, well, this was the price when we opened our doors and we didn't have hours. So now if you book an hour game, you're getting the extra 15 minutes, for free essentially. But it's worked really well for us. Sometimes you can get in your own way by having too many rules, too many differences, too many changes, too many policies. And so for us, sometimes you just have to make it one price across the board. There's a lot of escape game companies that will charge different prices for newer games versus older games. My fixed costs are my fixed costs. So my rent, my payroll, my internet, my hydro, all of it is a fixed cost. It doesn't change. So I have a revenue marker that I need to hit every week. And so sometimes when you start playing with the numbers too much, you can actually get in your own way by constantly looking at numbers and constantly tweaking this and that and this and the other. Find a number that you're comfortable with, set that number, and then just go to work. There are certain things we're very meticulous of where we'll have different layers. And then there's other areas where it's like, let's just make this easy. And sometimes you just need to make it easier for the end user. So The person coming to your business doesn't want to have to jump through hoops. And I learned that lesson the hard way. Like, we made a change to our pricing structure a few years ago, and it confused more people than not. So we've just changed back to a different pricing structure. Sometimes you can get in your own way. It's one of the things I like to talk about when I do my talks, right? Is sometimes less is better and not more.
And you open 7 days a week?
We are open 6 days a week. Mondays are usually our long weekends, like Thanksgiving or Victoria Day or Family Day weekend. So we'll open for those, but we're open Tuesday to Sunday currently. We used to be open 7 days a week, and then Mondays just kind of died down to the point where it just wasn't worth it from a financial perspective to be open. We get maybe one call every 4 months on a Monday to see if we're open. So in our town, most entertainment's not open on Monday. So the whole town is kind of conditioned to not go out and do anything fun on Mondays.
You mentioned that you have a workshop, and I know it's like full operational workshop. What advantages does building your own games and props give you as an operator?
A lot. I don't have to wait for shipping. Most escape room owners now have some sort of Cricut or laser or 3D printer. So we have 5 3D printers, we have a CNC machine, we have a laser. And for us, the advantage is there's no limit to our creations, right? Before we launched the workshop, if I wanted a prop that, let's say, it was a dropping frame, I was beholden to the way someone else designed it. And I had to try and make their prop work in the space I had. But by fabricating your own things or fabricating things for other people, we can take their location, their space, what they want their puzzle to do, and actually create it in such a way that it works and makes sense within the space. So the advantage to that is the fluidity of building. I don't want a drop scare that's going to be the same as every other drop scare. I would like to create something that's a little bit different. So I'm no longer limited by my imagination and what other people can create. I can now do that myself. So having the workshop is paramount to doing those things. Pre-COVID, we had a room with a bomb in it. It was a bomb disarming game. And then right before COVID hit, an element of the bomb broke. And then during COVID, the manufacturer of that part went out of business. So now I'm stuck with a room that has this big centerpiece of a bomb in the middle of it. And I have no idea how to repair it, how to fix it, because this one piece just isn't there anymore. Lo and behold, COVID starts loosening up, and this guy comes and plays one of our games, and he's an Arduino coder and an electronics guru. And so he started working with us. And so he pulled the bomb apart and he found the workaround. And then we ended up turning that game. It was a 15-minute lobby game. And then we ended up turning it into a full 45-minute experience once the bomb was up and running again. But now we have in that game, there's a console with buttons on it that controls 3 video games that we've created on the Unity platform, right? So now all of a sudden, this bomb that wasn't working, that wasn't generating revenue for me, is now generating revenue. And we have this crazy wow factor in the game that was created by us, because I can sit down with the workshop team and my electronics guy and say, this is what I want. This is what's in here. How long will it take us to make it, right? And so for me, I like playing a lot of video games. I like watching a lot of movies, reading a lot of comic books to get inspiration or ideas for things. And so for me, I could be playing a game or I could be walking down the street and something hits me or I see something. And then I go back to our Discord and I'm like, hey guys, so I saw this and I want to make this for a room. How are we going to do it? Right? So, and that's essentially how it works with us. So the workshop gives me that functionality that I can just go and I can start tinkering and I can build a prototype of something and then turn around to the team and say, all right, what do you guys think? Changes? What does it need? How can we build this so that, guests don't rip it apart in 10 minutes? Right? I mean, the one thing having your own workshop has taught me is how to build things to make things impervious to guest destruction. And you just learn things over the years. So it's been a great resource for us.
You have your facility for 10 years. How often do you swap games?
So pre-COVID, we used to swap our games every 3 to 4 years. Post-COVID, it's longer than that. It's taking longer it's no secret that the economic climate is not the greatest, right? Whatever factors are leading to it. So it's taking longer to recoup the investment on the games than they used to. And we can chalk it up to escape game fatigue. We can chalk it up to economic troubles. We can chalk it up to new industries coming out fighting for the attention and the dollars of our guests. There's so many reasons for it. People holding on to their money more just because the economic climate is where it is. So we're probably more in the 5 to 7 year range now in terms of swapping games. So we opened a new game in 2023. We opened a new game in 2024. And then 2025, we were supposed to, and a few things happened that stopped us from doing so. So 2026, we're hoping to open 2 games.
How do you determine when to swap the game and which one?
A very, very interesting formula. So we look at the patterns of people coming to play the games. I actually talked about this at my talk at Transworld last year, and I actually had a flow chart of when to swap games out. And so we look at, so when a room stops getting busy, we look at seasonal factors. So did it stop getting busy in the summer? So we're a cottage community. So a lot of people where we are go to cottages in the summer. They don't stick around town. We don't have a lot of influx of tourism. So our summers are slow and our winters are busy. Traditionally, last year threw that whole model on its head. But last year, I think, was an anomaly. So we look at when the room starts slowing down. Is it slowing down during a seasonal uptick, or is it slowing down during our regular slowdown? Then we look at, is the group size shrinking? So there's a whole lot of factors that we look at, and we use data analysis to figure out when the appropriate time to flip a room is. So we look at the age of the room. Is the cost of maintaining the game costing more, or will it cost more than keeping the game around? Because we do constant maintenance on our games, like constant. Like you'll never find a loose, something that's bolted down that's loose and shaking. I've been to games where like the tables that are bolted to the ground are like you can move them. They don't do any maintenance. So we do lots of maintenance here. So it really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on when the game starts slowing down, how tired the game is, how many other games in our vicinity of other escape game companies have a similar game. So we track all of that data and we take a look at all of it, and then we make a decision as to whether it's time to swap a game out.
You mentioned you're tracking if size of the group is shrinking. Explain to me why it's happening, why it's important, do you think?
Overall, from a revenue perspective, if the game is just making less revenue, then the cost of running the game is no longer viable. So if it's booking less and the group size is shrinking, right? So if a game that would sell out every weekend for a year, now all of a sudden during busy season is only booking once, and the game that used to hold 8 people is now only coming with 4, now all of a sudden it's not booking as many times, but that revenue of the limited times is also cut in half. Those are 2 really big factors that make us go, okay, this room is either slowing down because nobody else wants to play it, the theme is tired, people have all played it already. So those are all those markers that we have to hit from the data analysis perspective in order to decide whether to flip a game or not. So group size and frequency of group size and frequency of reservation are the revenue factors. So if those revenue factors aren't hitting the markers they need to hit, then the room has to come down and we have to swap it to something else.
Now, you now offer consulting services for
Yes.
both new and veteran operators. Who are those services best suited for?
Anyone, really. Because the consultation it's not me sitting on a dais telling people what they're doing wrong. I know, and many escape room operators know, that there are times when you're working on a game and you just hit a writer's block and you don't know what to do. And you're sitting here going, how do I get this to this? Or how do I get this game to look like, how do I get this game to look the way I want it to look? And so we take all the elements of our team. So me from the game design perspective and the operational effectiveness perspective, my wife from the interior design perspective, our electronics guy from the wiring perspective, and we offer all those different consulting verticals. So there are times that veteran owners just need a consultation and they just need like a 1-hour powwow with someone. And then there's new owners who need help from, whether or not they should make their games accessible, or whether or not they should include, a Sudoku in a game, or something that's tremendously taboo because they believe a series of things to be true when not necessarily they are. And so the consulting services are for anybody, and it's a revenue stream for us. So we're never going to say no if someone needs the help. I would say that we get less of the veteran owners reaching out to us from the consulting side and more of the newer owners reaching out to us to consult. But the veteran owners reach out to us for prop creation. They reach out to us to make a prop for them, something that they've dreamed up. That's the divide. So we still do get consulting from veteran owners. We get people who call us and say, hey, I'm designing this game. I'd like to book a session with your wife because they know that our spaces look incredible for the budget that we put into them. So that we'll have owners contact us and be like, okay, we want to book a session with Amanda because Amanda's the one who's going to make this place look as incredible as possible for a lower price point than hiring, someone else. And from my perspective, like with me, the wiring guy is pretty self-explanatory. You need the guy to code an Arduino, or you need the guy to build you something or wire something for you. It's pretty straightforward stuff. But for me, from the game design perspective, it's always good to have a fresh set of eyes. Interestingly enough, we get more people asking us to consult about business stuff than we do about game design. We are all A-type personalities, and we all think that our games are amazing, right? Every single one of us. I tend to tell people that I think my games are great, but I do not have the best games in the world because I need to be humble and I need to be honest. And again, if I'm the smartest or best person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, always. So I'll never say I'm the best at anything because for me, I always have to keep learning. But if I can impart any knowledge to people, and sometimes people just need an hour of my time and sometimes people need 8 hours of my time. But each prong of the business services a demographic more than the other. So the prop creation services the experienced creators more, and the consultation is more for the newer owners and creators.
When you're working with new escape room owners, what kind of mistakes they do most often and how can they avoid them?
Each person's different. I would say the biggest mistake an owner makes, and it's not even a mistake. I understand why they're doing it. And it's not a mistake because I don't want to sit here and pinpoint and be negative about something. But the biggest thing that I try to tell people is to value their time. The amount of time that you spend on your business, working on your business and working in your business needs to be compensated. And owners need to understand that your sweat equity has a dollar value attached to it. And so I find that a lot of new owners are pumping so much bonus time or free time of theirs to get their dream off the ground that they forget to compensate themselves for it. And they forget to add that into their budgets, right? It's really important that you value your own time. You are not worth $0. And can you recoup some of that years later with, dividends or taking extra profits out of the business? You can, but sometimes you need to value yourself. And the other thing is, it's okay to have a breakdown. It's okay to have a shitty day. Excuse my language. It's okay to have a mental lapse and sit there in a corner with your tea or your coffee and rock while you're contemplating your life choices as to whether or not you should still be doing this, right? Business owners, entrepreneurs, I call us entrepreneurs because we are literally shackled to our business. We are literally chained to this entity that we've created, and it keeps us up at night. It makes us have bad dreams. Imposter syndrome creeps in, and people sometimes think that, they're a failure, and why would anyone come play one of my games, or why would anyone listen to this podcast, or whatever. Like, everyone has those feelings of self-doubt. And a lot of people turn to themselves and think, like, what's wrong with me? Like, nothing's wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing, I'm going to swear, nothing fucking wrong with you, right? Like, nothing. It is human. It is natural for us to second guess and question ourselves because a lot of the decisions we make impact so many big things, right? Is the decision you're making going to negatively impact your staff, right? Is it going to cut hours from them? Is it going to hurt their livelihood? Is it going to impact your way of life? Is it going to make you less money? Is the decision you're making going to ensure that you have rent covered for the next 2-3 months when it's your slow period? So having all these major decisions on your shoulders, like my rent's $12,500. Rent in Canada is astronomical in comparison to the rest of the world. Maybe not the UK, but like New York, LA, some big metropolitan areas in the States are pretty pricey. But I'm in a small town. I pay Toronto prices for a small town. Rents and mortgages and real estate in Canada is astronomical. And so as a business owner, you make so many decisions that impact so many people's lives. Are you going to donate to that children's charity or that humane society to take care of pets who get abandoned or hurt, or donate to that women's shelter. All your decisions every single day impact the lives of so many people. Even, are your games going to provide fun for that family who only has enough money to come play this one game? We talked about economic challenges. So you have families now that don't have as much disposable income as they did 2019 or previous. So now they have money to spend on one event and they choose your place. You know how shitty it feels if they come and don't have a good time? Like
Yep.
it's such a mind job, right? And so as an entrepreneur, you're saddled with all of these things that you're constantly thinking about and worrying about. And in that whole process, people do two major things. They forget to value themselves and their time, and they forget to pay themselves, even while building, even while creating. Your time is worth something. You are worth something. And then the second thing is it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Like, it's okay to have a breakdown. It's okay to, step away from everything. And if you need to cry, you cry. I've stood in the middle of a room and I've cried. I'll give you the background story to it. We were building our candy shop game, and my old business partner was the electrician. He used to wire everything. During COVID, we parted ways. We amicably parted ways. He left the company. I bought the company from him. Everything's good. But I didn't know how to wire anything, right? He did all the wiring and all the building, and I did all the game design. It was a great partnership. And so I'm sitting here and I've built this room and I've hired some people to do the construction stuff, and we're building this room, and it came down to wiring this one puzzle. And I couldn't figure it out. And the room got delayed months because I couldn't figure this one thing out. And even though I was following the manuals and I had called tech people for help, and they were like walking me through stuff on like video calls, and we're like plugging everything in the right way, this thing just wasn't triggering. It just wasn't triggering. And I stood in the middle of that room and I'm like, this room's going to be late. It's going to impact my revenue. It's going to impact my staff hours, right? All these things. And it's okay. I had a breakdown. Like, I'm human, right? There's so many pressures and stresses in our life. Like, it's going to happen. So anyone who likes to sit there and pretend that they don't, right? So a lot of people put on the good, happy face on social media. Everything's great. My life is amazing. You know what? It's not for everybody. And it's okay to have those breakdowns, and people need to give themselves grace. You need to give yourself grace. You're having a challenging moment at work. You can't figure something out. It's okay. You'll get there. Everyone will get there. And so for me, those are the important things to live by. Anyway, I'm going to get off the soapbox now.
Let me ask you, what's the one lesson the escape room industry taught you that you didn't expect when you started?
It's a good question. The one lesson the escape room industry taught me to not think I know everything. Really, 10 years ago, I was 36 years old and I thought I knew everything. And this industry taught me that there are way smarter people out there. I always knew that there were smarter people, like scientists and whatever, right? I never had any illusions of grandeur that I was the smartest person on the planet. But when you first start designing games, you think, this is awesome, and then you beta test it. And you start getting all this bad feedback. This is not good. This is not good. And it happened with the first game I designed. It was not a good game. Let's be honest. My very first game was okay, but it wasn't like the product we're putting out now. But the one thing it taught me is keep playing. Just go out and keep playing other people's games. Continue to be a child in a fun world environment and go out and experience all kinds of things, because you'll never know what kind of inspiration or admiration or respect that you will gain and learn and grow for people if you sit in your box and you think that you're it. That's it. You've got the best stuff out there. Even the best escape room owners in the world still go and play games, and they still go and learn stuff. And so for me, that lesson was hugely important. The other lesson, I think the other major one, which is just as important, is as many people in this industry whom would take advantage of other owners, they are dwarfed in comparison by the people in our industry who support and take care of each other. Right? You own an escape game facility. I own an escape game facility. And here we are talking business, and there's nothing in it for either of us. You and I are not trying to get one up on the other to, you know what I mean? So for the number of people that will come to your facility and maybe rip off an idea or steal content off your website or whatever, or use IP that's not allowed, right? For the number of people that will do those kinds of things, they are dwarfed surmountably dwarfed by the amount of people in our industry who are just pulling for each other to take care of each other. We are a small but powerful group of business owners, and collectively, we have changed the entertainment world. 10, 12 years ago, we changed the entertainment world. Like the first guy who made an escape room, great. But then collectively, as a body, we moved together. We shared ideas. We supported each other. There's a women's escape room group. Each town has its own escape room group. There's so many businesses that work together to support each other. So the two biggest things that I've learned in this industry and the two biggest takeaways I have is one, just go out there and play and learn and grow and get respect for other people, and just know that there's wonders out there that you'll see in games that your brain just won't come up with. And the other thing is just know that, even if you do come in contact with an entrepreneur who's just not necessarily has the best interests of the industry in mind, there's just so many other of us out there that are just interested in making sure that this industry continues and make sure that this industry is the best that it can be.
Yes, yeah. Benito, any final thoughts or advice for operators listening today, whether they are just starting or they're 10 years in?
Yeah, if I could give anybody one piece of advice, is if you're brand new or if you're a veteran owner, if you don't have a standard operating procedure, create one. If you don't know how to create one, someone out there can help you. I don't want to sit here and plug my business, because that's not what this talk is about.
No, actually, that's totally fine. Please tell us how people can find you, where they can find you.
Yeah, so
share your website.
People can reach out to us at durhamescaperooms.com. You can email me directly, keymaster@durhamescaperooms.com. That's direct link to me. But really, having a standard operating procedure and outlining every element of your business, so that when you do get to the point that you've hired staff or you have staff, there's no ambiguity. There's no questions. There's no, how do I do this, or I didn't learn this. It's really important. Like, we once hired an employee who was still in high school at the time, but they had never used a mop before. They had never mopped before. Like, their mom did all the mopping at home. And so when it came time for closing duties, I was like, okay, it was sweep and mop or whatever. They're like, I've never mopped before. I don't know what to do. So we literally added a mopping section to our SOP, right? Because just because I know how to mop and my older staff members know how to mop, my new round of employees that I'm going to be hiring may not. So putting things in the standard operating procedure to pinpoint all elements of your business. And I know it sounds ridiculous, right? You're probably sitting here going, I can't believe you have a section in your SOP about how to use a mop bucket.
I actually love it.
It's how to scrub a toilet or how to clean the toilets. It's really important to have all those elements highlighted, so that one, it eliminates a lot of the questions, right? I don't get a call at 10 o'clock at night going, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, it's in the SOP. Just go grab the binder. There's one in the staff room. There's one at the front lobby. There's one in the back lobby. Grab the SOP and read it. It's there for you, right? But just outlining everything, how to make bookings in your booking software, what your hours of operation are, what your pricing strategy is, how to sell gift certificates, how to sell board games, have all those things. Our standard operating procedure also has all the forms at the back, nightly cash out sheets, float counting sheet, all the tracking sheets for the day, who reset what game and at what time for the final resets of the night, so that when the people come in the morning and check the games, if there's any glaring errors, we know, and then we have that coaching opportunity. All those things are wildly important.
Do you have it where you share it, or is this something internally you use only?
Yeah, so our standard operating procedure is for our business. But if people wanted to see a copy of it, we can sit down and talk about what a standard operating procedure would look like for your business. It takes a while to write one. You can try AIing one. The problem with AIing an SOP for your business is it's so specific, especially where you're located, right? So the rules in Arkansas are going to be different than the rules in Missouri, right? So labor laws are different, or in Canada to the UK to Russia to Israel to, Zimbabwe to Australia, right? So all the laws are different everywhere. So, you could potentially try and prompt an AI and SOP, but the documents are living, breathing documents, and they're so long that it's really important to have an example of one or have someone help you write one, which is part of the operational consulting that we do. People just need to go easy on themselves, but they need to create a map of success for their business. And SOPs are the start of that map. because then everyone knows how you want your business to run. There's no ambiguity. There's no secrets. My old business partner used to say this thing when we would hire people, and it kind of stuck with me. And he said, if I ask you a question and you say, I don't know, then we haven't done our job training you properly to do your job. And that made me go, okay, I can see that. So by having the SOP and having everything outlined, right, now the questions I normally get are for things like, this isn't, Benito, this isn't in the SOP. We've never encountered this scenario before. How do you want to handle it? So now usually the requests I get are one-offs of things that have never happened before. But how to handle proposals. We've done 28 proposals in our escape rooms for marriages. We've done a prom proposal, we've done baby reveals, all of that stuff, how to charge it and what to do is all in the SOP. So if someone calls in and I'm not here and they say, hey, I want to propose to my girlfriend in one of your escape rooms, how do we do that? They're like, okay, send this email. This is all you have to do. Send it to Benito. Benito will get back to you. And this is what he needs to get started. Right? By having everything outlined, it eliminates the questions from staff of, what do I do in this scenario? And then you're only really fielding the one or two odd, weird requests that you don't normally get, right? So having your policies just written in stone, and then people have to stick by their policies. There's always going to be people who try and get around company policy, right? But you just got to stick to your policies and you got to support your staff. So if your staff make a judgment call based on your policies, don't throw them under the bus. That's a huge, in 10 years, I've only had to go against my staff once, but they were in the wrong. All the other times, the staff just follow everything that we've laid out for them. And then if they do what I've asked them to do and they do what's in the SOP and they do what's in our policies, I'm never going to go against them. You've done everything I've asked you to do. I paid you to do XYZ. You did XYZ. So now I'm not going to throw you under the bus to a guest. Right? That doesn't foster any loyalty with staff members. So it's really important. If you have that roadmap for your business of the success of how you want your business to run, and then you train your staff on it and they run your business the way you want it to run, then you just got to support them and stick by your policies and everything's tickety-boo.
On the training subject, how do you train your employees? You have so many rooms. What is your process?
So they have to play all the rooms solo, which is it's a really, really neat thing to do. I don't know if you've ever played an escape game by yourself. You should try it. I urge everyone, if they're an owner, to go play an escape game solo.
I don't like to feel myself dumb, so I don't like to do it.
So I think it's really important because you get those moments of self-doubt, right? Where you're sitting there going, I'm dumb, I'm not getting this. And you've literally put yourself in the shoes of every single game player that walks through your doors by playing a game solo. Understanding the psyche of a game player is so important to our industry. So by playing a game solo, you're eliminating all the noise from other people talking over you and shooting out ideas and whatever. And you're literally placing yourself in the figurative mind of each of your guests and how each of your guests would handle playing a game when they go internally to think about things, because there's no other people talking. So you're essentially replicating the voice inside your brain. And I think it's really important to do it at least once. And so when we train our staff, they play all the games first, and then we start one game at a time. So they play the game, then we tear the game apart, and then they take in the reset sheet. And they have to follow the checklist to reset it. And for the first month, when they're doing that through all the games, they don't lock anything. So they reset the game based on our checklist, and then the supervisor that's running their shift that day will go in and double check. And then if they've missed something, they say, okay, so this was on the checklist, you've checked it off, how did we miss this, whatever, and then we just course correct. And so the whole first month is them playing games, and it is tedious. And I tell every new hire, this is going to be the most boring month that you will have here, because it is constant repetition. You tear the room down, you reset it. You tear it down, you reset it. They don't even get into intros and rules until month 2. Month 1 is all tearing rooms apart. So once they get that and they're comfortable with it, and the managers are comfortable and the supervisors are comfortable with their progression on the gameplay, then they start shadowing with intros and giving hints and doing that stuff. And then the 3rd month of training is they start doing intros on their own without shadowing and start resetting on their own. And then at the end of the 3 months, there's a test for each room. It's only 8 questions. But it's all out of order on purpose, right? So if you find this number, what is it open, right? Or once you have this lock open, what's inside this thing? But it's not in the order of the game. So it's not like if they memorize the reset sheet, then they can ace the quiz, because we've then taken all those questions and jumbled them. So they're all one pagers. They're all easy answers. We don't ask for like paragraphs or whatever. I think the longest question is, what are the 3 steps of this one puzzle? And so they just, even if it's a one word, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. But we have 2 employees that have been with us for 9 years. So our retention, most people leave here in terms of staff because of a life goal or a dream job, right? So we've had people go to school for XYZ and then get a career in XYZ. So we've had people we had one staff member whose dream job was always to work for Air Canada. He wanted to work for the airline, got a job with the airline. We had another staff member who moved to Japan. His life dream was to move to Japan. So he moved to Japan. So all the people who leave typically leave for a major life change. We don't have a lot of turnover in terms of staffing for whatever reason. Most of it is major life changing. And I like to think that's the culture that we've created that has allowed that to happen. But we do small things. I mean, I used to work in a big corporation. And everyone always asks me, what made you make the jump from a major corporation to being an entrepreneur? And for me, I always say the biggest lesson I ever had working in a big corporate company was they taught me how not to treat staff members. The way that they treated us I was like, no, this is not okay. Big corporations do not treat their staff well. I mean, there are some, don't get me wrong. There are some. But I mean, this corporation that I work for, you were only as good as your last transaction or your last sale. And it didn't matter if you made your yearly quota in one sale, you were back on the phone, and it did not matter. They're like, we don't care. And so for me, I learned how to treat my staff by not following their lead, right? So I took that very toxic environment and said, I'm just going to do the complete opposite. So we don't deduct the 30-minute break if you work a 5-hour shift or more. Like, I pay you for it, whatever. Right? If I'm going to sit here and nickel and dime you for half of your hourly rate, for what? If I'm in that much trouble, I got to do that. I don't have a company that I have, 100,000 employees where a half-hour deduction is the difference between an extra $100,000 or $200,000. I have 8 people on a Saturday, 9 with me. You're looking at a half hour for 8 people. It's nothing. It's the cost of one of my rooms running. So for me, like, all those small little things, making sure that they're fed. Our staff room has microwaves, air fryers, fridges. I used to buy bottles of water for them. I got rid of the bottles of water and I installed a refilling water station like you see at the airport. It's about making sure that they have everything that they need to function for their job from the work side of it. But then there's a level of comfort. Let's be real. Most people don't love to work. Humans were designed to be hunters and farmers and gatherers, and our brains and our bodies weren't designed for this daily grind of, 45 hours or 60 hours a week or whatever it is. Our bodies weren't built for that. If we can allow for a little bit of comfort, let's allow for it. And then people feel valued and wanted at work. And then it's not like, all right, clock in, clock out. You're just a number to me. Because that's human beings don't like being reduced to just a line item on a profit and loss statement. What's the saying? People don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad managers. That's the saying. So you just don't be a crappy person. Run your business. It's not always about profit. The way I look at it is, if you have huge turnover, you spend more in training and hiring than the person's actually generating for you in revenue if you're constantly training new people. So having retention saves you money. So treating your people super well saves you money, giving them a good wage. So when minimum wage in Ontario was $14 an hour, we were paying, or when it was $10.25, we were paying $14. Now minimum wage in Canada is $5, and everyone here makes more than that. No one starts off at $17.25. Our job posting starts at $18. You move to $19 after your 3-month probation. Everyone's making above that. It's important. It's important to have a living wage. Does it hurt my revenue? Sure. Could I pay people $17 and then I'm making $2 an hour per person? If we think about that on a Saturday, right? So an extra $2. So my minimum wage here is $17.25. Everyone's making, let's say, $19. Let's just say 17 and 19 for easy numbers. $2 an hour times 8 people, $16. And then most of them work an 8-hour shift. Look at the cost of one of my escape rooms or 2 of my escape rooms that run on a Saturday. So that revenue, but now they're selling second games. They're asking for reviews. They're constantly upselling board games. They feel valued. So I'm not deducting their half-hour lunch. I'm not paying them minimum wage. I'm paying them more than what minimum wage is. You treat them well, then they work for you, right? Then they have ownership in that business and they want to see that the business succeeds because they're treated well. There's a lot of talk out in the real world about, minimum wage and trickle down economics and whether or not it's good or bad or this or that or the other. Maya Angelou said it's not, it's the way you make people feel. That's what they remember, right? So if your staff feel valued and seen and appreciated and supported, they're going to work harder for you. They're going to work smarter for you. They're going to care about your business, right? They're going to be in constant communication with you to ensure that things are running the way you want it to run. And I can't say enough good about my staff. And I always say that they don't work for me. They work with me. I work shift work. I've owned the business for 10 years and I work Saturdays on the floor and I'll pick up a mop and I'll mop and I'll wash a bathroom. I don't care. I'm in the trenches with them, and the staff need to see, they don't see the stuff that I do like this. My staff don't see me working during the day. They don't see me when we're closed, but I'll go in and I'll do a shift the weekend so that they're supported, and I'll work on holidays. So the week between most escape room owners, the week between Christmas and New Year's is the busiest week of the year. I worked every day. I was supposed to have New Year's Eve off and I still had to go in, but I went in and I worked. They needed to know that I was there and supporting them and making sure that they weren't getting overrun. And it's really important that the longevity of your staff will save you money in the long run if all you do is you just invest a little bit more in them at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that's a lot. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dmitry. I talked too much.
No, that's good. Hey, I'm here listening. It's perfect.
No, I think if you make me keep going, I could go for another hour.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Benito, thank you for joining us today. For everyone listening, you can learn more about Durham Escape Rooms, see their work, and connect with Benito through the links in the episode description. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe or comment and share it with another operator who cares deeply about the industry. This has been Attractions Insights, and we'll see you in the next episode.